DeAnn Presley, and I'm a soil management specialist in the Department of Agronomy at Kansas State University. And I'm in a soil pit today looking for roots. What's behind me, the vegetation behind me, is a cover crop mixture that was planted in mid-June. It's a warm season mixture, so it's one that could be planted after wheat or any winter crop, so after a rye crop or something like that, but it would be planted in June. And so it's a mixture. You can see there's a grass species. This is sorghum Sudan, and this would be a legume. It's a cowpea actually, so very similar to a soybean, but it is a cowpea or black-eyed pea. And also there's some radishes in here. And so what's fun to do is to look at the different rooting structures of these plants. I dug this out a little bit farther away, but you can see when you're looking for roots, the fresh white ones, those will be this year's roots. Sometimes you'll see maybe some older decayed roots, but these are fresh roots from this year. This material here would be either some plant residue, could be weeds, I guess, but in this case there's a lot of last year's sorghum crop residue breaking down. There's some white stuff here, and that's where the fungi are really starting to break down the crop residues from last year. So notice when I break this apart, it's kind of breaking out into chunks like this. This soil, that would be showing some compaction, some historical compaction. Although when I do look at this, I see lots of big pores going through it, and I've observed some earthworms today. And so this structure is sort of, if you want to think of it as healing over time, the structure is improving, and maybe a bit slowly, but it is improving. And so I'm going to break this apart. And here, in this chunk, I've got actually 3 different cover crops growing. So I've got, again, this cowpea. The cowpea is a legume, so fixes atmospheric nitrogen. And so one of the things to look for on the roots of a legume are nodules. And so I see lots of nodules growing here, and if a nodule is split open and you see a red color inside, then it is doing its job. So the bacteria that have formed an association with the cowpea roots are fixing nitrogen. And so that is a good thing for a subsequent crop. It helps to provide nitrogen. And in this case, the sorghum Sudan here, now actually I mowed this off one time because we produced so much biomass so fast this summer that I mowed it off so that in this case at this research site or demonstration site, we didn't bale it, but we sure could have. We could have baled it off and let it regrow, had cattle come out here and graze this fall and into winter. So one of the things with cover crops is just thinking about your objectives. What is it that you wanted to do? For me, I wanted to grow cover crops for demonstration purposes, so that's why I have this planted here. And so this white root, this big white root, is a taproot. Oh, I pulled the radish through. So this is a radish, and I expect that as some of these really heat-loving plants like cowpea and sorghum, as they start to die back as we get some frost, I think these small radishes that are protected here in this biomass, they might actually start to thrive a little bit more. They can take the cold just a little bit more. Although in other places I've observed turnips can take the cold more than radishes can. So, but this is a taproot. And in other research experiments in other places, for example in Maryland, they've observed water extraction by these roots to a very great depth. In fact, research from Kansas at the North Central Kansas experiment field, they've observed water use by brassicas like this. So Brassicaceae species, those would be things like canola, radishes, turnip, kale, plants like that. They've observed water extraction as great as like 8 or 9 feet. So these can really send down a taproot. So though we're just looking at the big part of the root here, the smaller parts of this taproot extend a long way into the soil. They're hard to dig up and find because they are fine and they break off, but this is that taproot structure of this cover crop is amazing. And then the sorghum being a cereal, it has more of a fibrous root network. So we're seeing some of the bigger ones here, but I can see lots of small ones shooting through the soil as well. So all kinds of roots being produced. And roots, as they die and decompose in the soil, is what causes the darkened soil here. So topsoil and subsoil. I put my knife here. This is where the roots really start to drop out in abundance. So they're more abundant here, and down here I still can find them all the way to the bottom of the soil pit, but they're reduced. And also this particular soil has a lot of clay content. I'm in Manhattan at the North Agronomy Farm, and the soils up here, they're upland soils and they have lots of clay content. And so the roots primarily down at depth were starting to go just between the peds, which those are the pieces of soil structure. So I'll pull out a ped here. So this would be a prismatic piece. It reminds me of cereal boxes on a shelf or skyscrapers. But this, most of these roots are going to go down between peds. Some will go in the middle of the peds, but many of them are sort of plastered on the outsides of the peds. So the other crop I wanted to show is another legume, and this is a sun hemp. Again, you can see where it was mowed off. We mowed it high on purpose, but then had a lot of regrowth happen after that. And it's another legume, and this root extended a lot farther. I broke it off. But here, this little white bunch, there are about 8 or 9 nodules right there in that cluster. So it's produced a great amount of nodulation. And again, those are fixing nitrogen for this plant. It's satisfying the nitrogen requirement of this plant, and as this plant dies and decomposes, being high in nitrogen, it will then cycle the nitrogen back into the soil for use by subsequent crops. So it's again, this one is just loaded with nodules, so that's good to see. You always hope that it works out that way. We have to inoculate this with inoculum for sun hemp, but it really did nodulate very well. So my objective in growing this crop, I did say it was for demonstration, but I'm also trying to improve this soil. Like I said, it is clayey and it's been eroded. So over time, I have research on this, and in most of the state, many of our cropland soils have lost about 50% of the soil organic matter, or topsoil, the topsoil that's rich in organic matter. So now that's in places that aren't as useful. So maybe it's now in stream beds or in some of our federal reservoirs. So to build the soil back up, we actually start at the top. It'll increase the most at the surface, and over time we can get higher organic matter levels into the soil. Organic matter is essential for nutrient cycling. It is also where the water storage happens. So as these plants, if we had very little organic matter, the plants would show stress faster than they do in a soil with more organic matter. Soil organic matter also gives elasticity so that the soils are less prone to compaction. So there's a lot of services provided by organic matter that are important for crop production. So also environmentally as well. So if there's more porosity and better soil structure that comes over time, then this soil can be open to infiltration. So water can move in and be stored in the soil rather than running off. So we call this all these things together are what we refer to as soil health. So improving physical, chemical, and biological properties of a soil is really what soil health is about. So thanks for listening, and appreciate your time.